Okay.
It's recording.
Okay. Today is Wednesday, July 26th, and we are here with Gary Renard.
Right.
Hey.
Gary, thank you so much for the great session with our book club. Everyone is so excited about it. It was very
great.
Yes.
Great. I'm happy. I enjoyed it very much.
Awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And I was still psyched up because we had such a great weekend, the weekend before in Utah. And,
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed that very much. It was just one of those gatherings where it was like total love.
Yeah.
You had all these good speakers. Like you had the new presidents, co-presidents of the Foundation for Peace, Judy Scutch's daughter, Tam, and Bob Rosenthal. And we've all become friends. Bob's a psychiatrist from back east in New Jersey, and he was kind of like a friend of Bill Thetford. You could say that Bill was like his mentor. And it was interesting because he was Judy Scutch's daughter's roommate at Yale. And he was only like 20 years old when he was introduced to A Course in Miracles. And this was before it was published, like in 1974 or so. So he's been a really long time course student. And now he's becoming kind of like co-president of the foundation, because Judy's 86 and she's still going strong, but they wanted to make sure that there was going to be people to take over the publication of the course and the translation program, and to make sure that there was going to be that continuity to the whole thing. So Tam was there. She's a firecracker. She's a hot ticket. And Bob's a great guy, brilliant guy. And they spoke, and I spoke, and who else spoke? John Mundy, and David Hoffmeister, and James Twyman, and Maria Philippe, and Carol Howe. I don't know if you're familiar with these people, but they're pretty well known in the course community. And it was just a really great thing. There were about 150 people there, even though it was out in the boondocks, about 2 hours in the desert from Las Vegas.
Duchesne.
I mean, from Salt Lake City.
Duchesne. Yeah, Duchesne.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
It's called
hear.
Duchesne.
Maybe I should turn this up a little. I couldn't hear that.
Duchesne.
Duchesne.
Duchesne was
That's the name of the town.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going out there. I didn't know where I was, so I just knew I was out there in the desert somewhere. Although it's not the kind of desert that you get in Arizona. There's vegetation, you get the green stuff.
Right.
But it was hot. It was over 100.
Yeah.
Oh.
But not as bad as 120 going to Sedona.
Right.
The time that we went. But it was a really great weekend, and but you just feel the love and the joy. They were calling it a fundraiser, and I like that. So that was great, and we're having a good time here. Cindy's first book just came out today.
I saw that on Facebook. That's exciting.
She's excited.
What's the book? What's the name of it?
It's called A Course in Health and Well-Being. And she uses her background with the course in psychology and spirituality, and she really explains the whole concept and the process of healing. And it's really good, I must say. It's comprehensive, it sticks to the course, and it gives very practical ideas to people as to just how to heal. And I was very impressed, so I wrote the foreword, and I was thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't write the foreword because she's my wife and everybody will think I'm prejudiced. But at the same time, I wanted to. So I just wrote a short foreword to it to explain what's been going on the last 10 years with us and how she's developed into a Course in Miracles teacher. And it's been great. It's been fun to watch, to see her become a really good teacher. I mean, I would put her up there with anybody as far as being able to teach the course, including people that have been doing it for 40 years.
Awesome.
Well, definitely.
All right.
Check the book out.
Well, we have some questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, we haven't spent that much time with questions, so maybe we should.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. So these are kind of just general, I guess, personal situational questions. And I'm seeking guidance from Arden and Persa around these situations, and they actually shouldn't be that long, but you tell me. So, all right. So the first question is I want to know the past life. If Art and Persa could share, or you could share the past life karma or whatever I have to work out with Crystal's parents. We currently live with them, and that started because of Crystal's cancer that she had. And we were dating, and I moved in because my apartment was they wanted me to buy it as a condo. And long story short, once I moved in, I never moved out. And we've been here for like 4 years. And so, we've made it work. But I just want to know, man, because it seems, honestly, I want to forgive everything I can forgive. I want to have the best relationship with them. I know it's all about that, but just give me some insight into that if you could.
Sure. I think I should ask Art and Persa about that. I kind of like channeled them through my mind. But before I do, I just want to point out that a lot of our relationships with siblings, parents, in-laws, we're just kind of like taking on a reverse role from a role that we had before. So with my parents, for example, I used to feel very guilty about my relationship with my parents because when they got sick and they really needed me, I was so depressed that I could barely function. And so looking back on it, I really wish that I could have helped them so much, and I just couldn't. I was barely capable of functioning in the world, and I felt very guilty about that. And then several things happened. They came to me in a vision, but it was real. It was just like I'm talking to you now. And we didn't even have to say anything. So they just came up to me, the two of them. And usually when you have a vision of people who have passed on, or they come to you in a dream, they look younger than they did when they passed away, and they look healthier than they did when they passed away, kind of like more like their old selves. And they came to me, and the three of us put our arms around each other, and we held each other so closely, and it was so real. And they didn't even have to say what they were thinking. I just knew that what they were saying was, look, Gary, live your life. We did. We did the things that we were supposed to do. You do the things that you're supposed to do. And don't worry about the past. We're fine. We're doing just fine. And if you knew what it was like on the other side here, you'd be jealous. You wouldn't be grieving for us. It's more fun to not be in a body than to be in a body. And so that was one thing that made me feel different about my relationship with my parents. I always felt better after that. Then, in finding A Course in Miracles, I realized that the guilt that I was feeling actually had nothing to do with the world or anything that I'd done in the world. That guilt that I was feeling could be traced all the way back to the original idea of being separate from God, and that's what I was really guilty about, and that's what I was really upset about, which is why the Course says in one of the workbook lessons, I am never upset for the reason I think. Mm-hmm. So we think that we're upset because of a relationship that we're having here, whether it's with our parents or our in-laws or our siblings or people at work or friends or whatever. And that's not really why we're upset at all. The whole thing has to do with the separation from God, or we think that we separated ourselves from God. And then everything here is symbolic of that, which is why the Course says that every minute of every day and every second of every minute, you but relive the time when terror took the place of love. So all the conflict that we're having here, and even if you're just having a hard time getting along with someone, it's all symbolic of the same thing. It doesn't look that way because it's symbolic, but it's all symbolic of something that can be traced all the way back to the beginning of time. And that's in a linear model. In a holographic model, it's like, to us, it's like it just happened, because time is an illusion. So we're acting like it just happened, not like it happened 13 billion years ago. We're acting like it happened yesterday. And the only thing that you can do with that is undo it, as you know. So let me ask Art and Persa if they want to share anything specific about that. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, depending on what's best for the individual. Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, this is about the fourth time that you and your in-laws have been pretty close in various lifetimes. The roles have been reversed. You've been one of the in-laws to them before. And just as I know, they're saying it's just as Gary knows, just as I know, I've had what was a difficult relationship with the in-laws that I had with my first wife, Karen. And it can be a very uncomfortable kind of a feeling. And what Art and Person are saying to you is, if you can become totally comfortable to the point where they don't affect you or bother you in any way, then you will be doing more than you think. You will be undoing, and when they use the word karma, they don't want to make it real, because these are all dreams that I'm talking about. When I say that you've known each other before, you've known each other before in dreams, like the serial dreams that we have. So in another lifetime that you were dreaming, you were one of the in-laws. And you were the father-in-law to your father-in-law. You were his father-in-law, right? Okay. And what's going on now is just like looking in the mirror. You're seeing your own, what you kind of like believe about yourself in your unconscious mind. You're seeing it in him. And the way to be free of it, and this is always going to come back to forgiveness. Because no matter what Art and Person I talk about in our book, sooner or later, they always bring the conversation back around to forgiveness. But you do have an opportunity to be free of that, and if you forgive it, fine. And if you don't, then not only are you going to have to come back here again, and who wants to come back here again? And then on top of that, you could be his father, he could be your father, and related in some way. And that same, and I don't even know the details, but that same thing that needs to be forgiving will still be there, and you're just going to have to go through it again. So this is probably 4 times before. This is probably at least the 5th time you've been going through this in one form or another. And the form changes, but the meaning doesn't. But the meaning is always the same. Okay. And if you can forgive that meaning, then you can be free of it. And all situations are temporary. You're not always going to be living with your in-laws. So maybe you should, take advantage of this situation while you can.
Sure.
People don't live forever. And you want to kind of like resolve this while you're still in a position to resolve this.
So Gary, my next question to follow up on that is, like, every time I'm around my father-in-law, I really make a conscious effort to think of him as God and to think of him as perfect and to see the God in him. And so that's kind of like my silent prayer or thought every time I'm around him. And I still feel the discomfort. Just the way that he communicates is very quiet. He doesn't say hello a lot. I kind of need a hello or something to feel like everything's okay. And that's not how he communicates. So it's not even that everything's bad. It's just that that's how he is. And so anyway, is there any other things, any other strategies, any other ways I can be? I don't feel like a conversation with him is necessary because he doesn't like to do the whole confrontation thing. Any advice there before we move on?
Yeah. Arden and Purser are saying, first of all, it's good that you think about him the way that you do, about him being God. Try to visualize it a little bit more. Try to realize that's not him. That what he really is has nothing to do with the images that you're being shown by the ego. That what he really is beyond the body. So that's not him. And because it's not him, you don't need for him to say hello to you. You don't need to have that conversation with him. You don't need for him to acknowledge you and to say good things about you. That's a part of the problem, is that you think that he does have to say something to you. What you need to get is that you don't need anything. At one point, the Course says Christ needs nothing. So you got to think from your attitude, well, neither one of us are what we thought we were. We're both this perfect spirit that is exactly the same as God. So I don't need him as a person to acknowledge me as a person when I'm not a person. And you're saying that you are a person and that you need for him to say this to you or say that to you. And it reminds me of, I think you want him to respect you. And it's like what George Groddick said. He said, respect is just as hard to renounce as vanity. Because, now I need to be respected. Now I'm really a person who really needs somebody else's acknowledgement. And you want to think the opposite way. You want to think, well, I'm coming from a place of love, and I'm going to continue to come from a place of love. And it doesn't matter how people treat me or think about me or act toward me. If I'm feeling uncomfortable, it's because I'm feeling uncomfortable. And it doesn't have anything to do with that person or what they're doing. It has to do with the way that I'm looking at that. When I was in Maine, my father-in-law had practically no respect for me whatsoever. He thought that I was totally useless. I was a city boy. I didn't know how to fix a ride-on lawnmower. So I was basically useless, and that's kind of like how he thought about me. And that made me feel uncomfortable. And it was only, I would say, from 93 till he passed away in about 2000, the last 7 years. I was up there for 17 years. And it was only the last 7 years that I could get to the point where I was really trying to practice forgiveness with him. And I wasn't great at it at the time, but it did make a difference. I did get to the point where I didn't feel that uncomfortableness around him. And his son was just like him. Because he kind of was a very practical guy. He started the town's fire department, and his son was in the fire department, and I wasn't, because I was a city boy, and I just would have been in the way, and it's just, I just didn't fit in. If I wore a T-shirt when I was in Maine, the T-shirt should have said, "Out of place." It doesn't belong here. And I actually did get to the point where I could feel comfortable around them, which is good because eventually I did move away. And not all relationships last forever. And that's why you want to do everything you can to get to that point where you don't need for him to acknowledge you or to say hello or to say anything. He's doing the best he can with what he's got. Everybody here is doing the best that they can with the awareness that they have. And, he has a certain amount of awareness. You have a certain amount of awareness. You're doing the best you can with the awareness that you have. But he's doing the best that he can with the awareness that he has. Also, everybody is. And there's nobody here without pain. And it's up to people to open up. If he wants to explain to you why he feels the way that he does, and if he did, I think you would find it has more to do with him than with you, if you really look at it. Then, that's fine. But if he doesn't, it's okay. You need to get that it's okay that he doesn't do what you think you need for him to do.
Okay. Awesome. This is like exactly what I needed to hear, and it's gonna definitely help me to forgive and learn the lesson. So
well, it helps me too because Cindy and I both learned that you learn what you teach, and we both found that the more that we share these things, the stronger these ideas get for us.
Oh yeah.
And that's half of it right there. Is when the Course says that to teach is to demonstrate. Well, it's like it just becomes more real for you when whether you're expressing these ideas or living them or both. And sometimes you do them both at the same time. And it's like, yeah, it really does become stronger for you. And I've seen that happen with Cindy the last 10 years. And well, you'll see in her book exactly how advanced a teacher she has become. And I'm very happy about that.
Awesome.
Her book is actually selling pretty well today.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be getting it. Maybe get it today on Prime.
So we're pretty excited.
And I need to say that when Cindy shared that 3-step forgiveness strategy at dinner in LA,
yeah,
I've been using that, and
right.
Looking at the problem and seeing that I'm not upset for that reason. I'm actually upset for my choice to be separate, and I'm dreaming. That's step 1. Step 2 is I forgive myself for the projection, and I forgive myself for I forgive the projection itself, and I forgive myself for making the projection.
Yeah.
Step 3 is I give it to the Holy Spirit, to the Holy Spirit to take care of, and that's been dispelling a lot of fear when I have fear thoughts around whatever. So I just wanted to say that. And I have another question, but I actually want to pass the floor over to my mom and dad because I know they have a question, and then I'll ask mine afterwards. Go ahead, Mom.
Sure.
Well, mine's not really a question per se. I picked up a couple of Dr. Wapnick's books, and I took it to Croatia with me. The first one I've been reading is The Spiritual Journey. The Spiritual Journey, where he talks about the journey of becoming a camel.
Keep going. I'm just going to grab something.
All right. All right. About how you first have to go through being a camel. Did you read his book? I'm sure you did, on the spiritual journey. And then you
no, I haven't. I've most of my experience with Ken has been listening to his audio CDs.
Oh, okay.
Which at the time that I started listening to him in the late 90s, they were actually cassettes, which shows you how fast things change.
Well, these are his little books. Okay, they're not like real long books, but they're small.
Cindy has them. Yeah, Cindy has read all that stuff.
And anyway, so since you haven't read it, so I probably don't really need to comment on it. It's just going.
No, I'm interested. What do you mean by being a camel?
Well, when you're a camel, so you go through life, and when you're in life, you have to learn how to live in this world, and so you learn how to make a living. You learn how to cope with all the things you're coping with, and that's the camel. And then no one can become a lion or a child until you become that camel. So he's saying basically, this is what I understand, is that you can't move on to enlightenment until you've gone through this camel phase. And I don't know if it runs into different lives linearly, but the lion is when you decide and you become aware that nothing in this world's going to work. I've survived this much, but nothing's working. And so it's just like an awareness. And then not until you become the child is when you start to do some things to change it. I'm not done with the book yet, but I just wanted some feedback. I didn't really know if Arten and Persa could feedback a little on that spiritual journey.
Yeah. I was really surprised about 12 days ago when we were in Utah, and David Hoffmeister, who was running that shindig there, he said, well, I'm going to Mexico and I'm retiring. I thought, what? This is a guy who travels all over the world, more than me, you know, and all of a sudden he says, well, that's it, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I was kind of really surprised. And he said, well, you know, I've done enough, and it, you know, it doesn't really work anyway. And but he didn't mean that sharing the experience of the course with people doesn't work. What he meant was that he's just seen enough of the world, and he felt like he had experienced it enough. And I can see
the lion. Yeah, that would be the lion.
Yeah, and I can see a few years from now. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop speaking, but I can see a few years from now, I'll move to Hawaii and I'll just say to people, okay, look, my life is perfect now. I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm moving to Hawaii. The place is paradise. Everything's great. We're totally happy. And both Cindy and I know that if we stick around here long enough, it's all going to turn to crap. Because that's what the world does. That's the nature of the world. And I think that's exactly what Ken was talking about. He knows that if you stick around here long enough, then everything's going to turn to crap, because that's the nature of this world, and it doesn't work. And so the best that can happen on the level of form is that it works for a while. You know, that's probably the best that you can hope for. And then it's not going to work. So that's duality. That's just the way that it is. And what you need to get is that it doesn't matter. So you have to learn to be like the lion and say, okay, it doesn't work. Then you can become, you know, someone who gets to the point where it says, well, it doesn't matter whether it works or not, because that's not me. This isn't me. And it doesn't matter if it works for me. All that matters is, am I happy and peaceful whether it works or not? You know, regardless of whether it works or not. Then I'm transcending it. Then I'm going beyond it, and it doesn't matter anymore. And it doesn't mean that you can't still have a happy dream and have a good time and enjoy the movie. I mean, some people love horror movies. Well, this is a good example many times of a horror movie, and some people like it. Some people like being first responders and going into hell and going into the building that's on fire and everything. And that's not me, but there are people like that. And we're attracted to all kinds of things. But yeah, I think that you get to the point where you realize, okay, it doesn't work. Then it's like, okay, well, so what? You know, it doesn't work. You can be happy anyway, and then you can go beyond that.
Okay, yeah, that's that would be the child that I am, like, what do you call it? Learning about the child.
Yeah.
That's the child you're becoming.
Well, yeah, because I'm probably still the lion, and I'm just like looking at all these clowns all over the place and looking at it like clowns, but I don't want to look at it that way. But you know, it's like, okay, maybe it's the awareness that it's a dream. I guess I
well,
I'm there.
I still have to catch myself, because sometimes I'll feel that way, especially looking at politicians. You know, it'd be like it's the zoo. You know, I'm looking at a zoo here, and they're so stupid. The things that they say are so stupid, and I have to remember, wait a minute, their stupidity is my stupidity.
Right.
And I'm choosing to see that in them, because I was the one who was stupid enough to come here.
Right.
You know, I was the one who was stupid enough to come to this world in the first place. And, you know, I heard Ken say, look, this isn't a happy world.
Right.
And nobody in their right mind would come here. So it's like I made this bonehead move of leaving paradise, perfection, and coming to a place that Arden and Percy call psychoplanet. And that was my decision, and I'm thinking somebody else is stupid.
No, yeah, I'm not coming from a judgmental place. I'm coming from a, like, you know, what, I'm stupid too. Like, I'm stupid too is like kind of how, like, we're all clowns in this whole game, you know.
Yeah. It's like that song, send in the clowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't bother, they're here.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question. Are you complete, Mom?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's
Jerry?
an old West term. We say at Nest, are you complete? You want people to be complete with their
That's I guess Landmark. It became Est. Est became Landmark. Yeah, we've done all of Landmark. Me and Crystal.
That's good. Yeah.
All right. So this question, I'm seeking guidance from Art and Persa on my career. I've recently gotten into real estate, wholesaling, investing, assigning homes, all kinds of things with real estate. I'm hanging out with some very successful, accomplished people that really like me and Crystal. Actually, it's both of us that's doing it. And our USANA business, our vitamin business, we still have it. We're still growing it, but we're making this real estate thing like a big kind of focus for us. We want to be able to create more cash flow than we've been able to create with USANA. And it's a little scary, because we've watched our USANA income go down a little bit. And we want both of them to grow. But, I guess I'm looking for some guidance in this career change I feel I'm transitioning into, and any advice that can help me have peace while I do it. I know it's all a dream. I already know that I want to do all my forgiveness lessons and not reincarnate anymore, whether I do real estate or my USANA business. I mean, I'm already there, but just in the meantime, during this dream, what do I need to know to navigate it well? Is there any advice from them?
Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. Art and Persa say, first of all, you're off to a good start. And what you have to realize that in your kind of a business, relationships are really important. And it sounds to me like you're off to a good start already with that. But it's going to be the people, the contacts that you make, the people that you meet, the reputation that you get as to what kind of a person you are. That's going to be probably the most important thing. So okay. You want to meet a lot of people, make a lot of friends, really be out there. People like you, so you do have a good personality, and people are going to relate to you. And the more of them you meet, the better off you'll be. And in that process, it's like the script is written, those who are to meet shall meet. Now, then what will happen is you'll meet a couple of people who will help you even more. And you've already met some people who are helping you, but you're going to meet some more. I've found personally, Gary, in my life, that whenever anything really great has happened for me, it's come as a result of meeting somebody. So you meet people along the way and they want to help you, not because they have to, but just because they want to. It's like when it came to the Disappearance of the Universe, I met this guy named D. Patrick Miller. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if that book would have ever even been published. And everything that has happened, a whole slew of events in the last 15 years or so that have happened since then, probably would not have happened if I did not meet this one person at the time that I was supposed to meet him. I met a guy last year in Hawaii, and he has the capability, and he loves my books, loves the course. I'll see him again in Hawaii when I go there next week. And so he has the capability of putting up all the money for my TV series, millions of dollars. And he understands the business. And I kind of feel like he is to the TV series what D. Patrick Miller was to the Disappearance of the Universe. It's like what happens is you meet somebody, and if you don't meet these people, then nothing happens. But if you meet these people, then all kinds of incredible things can be just around the corner. So Art and Persa seem to be advising you to be on the lookout and be aware that that is the most important thing about your business: meeting people, getting to know people, networking, which you're good at and which you'll get even better at. And if you do that, you won't have to use the hard sell, to get things done. You can be personable. You can come from a place of abundance, instead of a place of scarcity. like, hey, I just want to join with you out of a mutual awareness of abundance. And I want you to be happy. And I want you to be happy with the real estate that you buy. I want you to in the back of your mind, you'd be thinking, I want these people to be happy with me. So I'm going to tell them the truth. If there's something wrong with the place, I'll tell them. I don't have to hide anything. I can be totally open. And it's just as much about the way that you are as any technique of selling or anything like that. So they seem to be guiding you to be very aware of that.
Coming from a place of abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if you're coming from a place of abundance, then you don't have to get anything from anybody, and they sense that, and it makes them more comfortable with you. They can tell if you're trying to, pull something over on them or something, or trying to just there for the money, just there for the deal. But if you're coming from a place of abundance, then you can be genuine. It's kind of like the same idea as, teach only love, for that is what you are. If you're coming from a place of love, then you don't need to get anything from anybody. So you can have an authentic relationship with them. And they sense that, even if it's not articulated, their mind picks up on that. And they say, oh, okay, this is somebody I'm comfortable with. This is somebody I can, hang out with and trust. And it makes all the difference.
Okay. Oh, and that applies to our USANA business as well. And that's what I'm going to continue to do as well is that. So I can apply that to both.
Yeah. And when it comes to both professions, as you practice forgiveness, you've already been subject to inspiration in your businesses, but you'll be so even more. It's like I found after 25 years of doing the course that I'm still getting inspiration on a deeper level than I used to. And mostly for me, it's in the morning. And I'll just get up in the morning, the first 5 or 10 minutes of the day, I'll just have these ideas. And I know that I never would have had those ideas without the Holy Spirit planting them in my mind while I was sleeping. Because the Holy Spirit works with you even in your dreams at night and when you're asleep. And that's a great time to have ideas, is in the morning. Because if it just comes to you and you haven't been thinking about it, then you'll know that you did not consciously have that idea, that it was given to you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you.
But remember, it's relationships.
Relationships. Okay, I will. So I've thought of some more questions, but I want to make sure Mom and Dad and Crystal are good before I ask them. Or
I have one question. I'm currently reading your book, The Disappearance of the Universe, and my plans are to go to the course after the book. I know you've written 3 other books or 2 other books, a 4th book's coming published this fall. Should I move into any of your other books prior to the course, or go right into the course after The Disappearance?
Yeah, I'm excited. The 4th book is coming out in the fall. Cindy said to me, she said, hey, Gary, are you ready for the fall? We joke with each other, but this is the way I usually recommend to people to do the course. Yes, read The Disappearance of the Universe first. Then, and yeah, you can read, depending on how much time you have, I don't know if you have time to read a lot, you can read all 3 books, but you don't have to go right to the course. So if you want to get to the course, I would say read The Disappearance of the Universe, then go to the workbook, not the text. Okay. Go to the workbook. And because you've read The Disappearance of the Universe, the workbook is going to make a lot more sense to you than it would have. And I personally found that the workbook contains some of the clearest explanations of the course. They're not just lessons. They also have explanations of the subjects that are in the text that are associated with the lesson. And if you're up for it, you can do something that will help you to get the workbook even deeper. And I really noticed this the first time after I got divorced, and my first wife, Karen, and I continued to be friends. And she did the workbook. And it was her second time. It had been about 10 years in between. And she did it with this thing that Ken Wapnick did called A Journey Through the Workbook. And I recommend to people that when they do the workbook, after they read Disappearance, and it will take you a little bit more time to do the workbook if you do this, but it's worth it. Do it with Ken. Get his thing called A Journey Through the Workbook. And I believe it's available both in written form. I don't know if it's available in recorded form, but you will get the workbook on a deeper level if you do it with Ken. And because you've read the Disappearance of the Universe, you'll understand both Ken's work and the course better than you would have, because they're totally complementary to each other. Ken has a different style than me. He's very much like a college professor, but he also has a good sense of humor, especially if you see his videos. So, after Disappearance, do the workbook. If you can, do it with A Journey Through the Workbook by Ken Wapnick.
Do you do it simultaneously as you're doing the workbook with his?
Yeah, that's why it'll take you longer, because now you're reading two different things. You're reading and practicing the workbook, and you're reading Ken's advice about.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay.
I love
You'll be getting Ken's advice on exactly what the workbook means, how it's connected to the same ideas that you will find in the text. In fact, Ken did another thing once where he connected all the ideas in the text and how they correspond to the workbook and vice versa, and how they support each other. So you find most of the ideas that you'll find in the text, you also find in the workbook, and they correspond to each other. But if you do it in the way that I'm describing, Disappearance and the workbook and Ken, you're going to get the whole thing on a much deeper level than you would have. After that, I would move on to the Manual for Teachers. And you can take years to do this. There's no hurry. You can take 2 years to do the workbook. You don't have to do it in 1 year. Take your time. I wasn't even doing it with Ken, and it took me 1 year and 4.5 months the first time that I did the workbook. And take your time. Do the Manual for Teachers, which is great. It's a very overlooked part of the course, but it's a brilliant summary of A Course in Miracles. And Ken also happens to have a thing called A Journey Through the Manual for Teachers, and he also has a thing called A Journey Through the Text. And I recommend people to do it with him. He has these videos. When it comes to A Journey Through the Text, he doesn't do the whole thing word for word, but he has videos where he dedicates each video to a chapter in the text. So there are 31 videos because there are 31 chapters in the text.
Wow.
And they're like 1 or 2 hours each long. And I've only seen the first few so far. I'm going to, the time's going to come when I'm not traveling. And in fact, it looks like it's already starting, that I'm not traveling as much as I used to. And I'm going to take the time to do those. I'm going to watch every single video with every single chapter. And I've already seen a few of them, and it's like, wow. It's like, who is this
Where
guy?
are they available at? Where's all this available at?
I believe you can get them at the website of the Foundation for A Course in Miracles. So that's FACIM.org.
Okay.
And you might want to do it quick because I don't know. I think that Ken's work will always be available, but not always available like in book form. They seem to be not printing books anymore and going totally over to CDs and videos. And they're going to be shutting down the building in a year and a half. So it's not going to be the same. They're going to keep his work available, but not totally. It's not. I was really surprised when I found that they were going to stop printing books. And I actually hope that somebody will take over and start doing that again, because some people, they like to read books. Not everybody, but some people, they like to have that book in their hand.
I prefer books, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say That would be the order.
Okay.
And even when you get to the text, or if anybody's doing the text right now, I tell them don't try to do it too fast. Just read 2 pages at a time. And even if you just read 2 pages at a time, and even if you take days off, you're still going to read the whole text in less than a year. And you'll understand it more, because the faster you read it, the less you remember. And the slower you read it, the more you remember. And you'll understand it better. And you can apply it. You can apply the ideas to what's going on around you, just like the workbook. And that's a great way to do the text. So I tell people, take your time, and you'll get more out of it, and you'll understand it better. And there's no hurry. I mean, so what if it takes you between the whole course? What if it takes you 5 years? So what? You're so much better off than you would have been. Okay. And I'm actually looking forward now to taking more time to study the course and to apply it, even though I've been doing that for 25 years. I think that I'm going to end up kind of like Cindy's mom. When she made it to retirement, that's when she really got deeply into spirituality, more than she ever had before. It was when she became retired. And I don't know, maybe that's what David Hoffmeister is part of what he's going to be doing. But I think, and I noticed, it's funny how this happened all at once, because the 3 people who I think traveled the most to teach the course, myself, David Hoffmeister, and John Mundy, we were the 3 that traveled the most to teach the course. All 3 of us were there in Utah, and we all practically said the same thing at the same time. Because I've been saying I'm going to, cut down on my traveling, but this time I'm actually doing it. I've been saying that, for a few years, but now I'm actually doing it. And David said, "Oh, I'm retiring." And it's like, what? And then John, he's been going since probably the late 70s. And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. With my schedule, I'm not going to travel much anymore." And it's like all 3 of us all decided that at the same time. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a transition to the internet. Maybe it's the fact that you can reach just as many people now on the internet as you could traveling to all these places. And maybe I should be looking more closely at that in different ways to use the internet, to reach people and to do classes or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, I have another question that popped in my mind. Could we get some advice and guidance from Art and Persa about me and Crystal moving out? We recently tested that from our muscle testing, that it's for our highest good to, whenever Crystal's parents find a house, for us to not go with them and to go our own route. And Crystal has a lot of unhappiness about this. But it muscle tested very high. We cleared everything, and it tested this way. And this is a unique opportunity we have with you and Art and Persa. So I want to ask, what do we need to know about this? How can we be peaceful about it? Just any type of perspective about this, because Crystal's bond with her parents, and there's 2 pets here. It's very complicated. And I know she's majorly concerned about our dog, and how the dog loves her mom, and there's a whole dynamic here. So, but at the same time, the question was for the highest good of all 6 of us, the 4 of us and the 2 pets, and it was for us to split. So yeah, and anything to give us perspective and guidance.
Great. Yeah, I'll ask them, but I think I already have a feeling about what the answer is going to be, because Cindy and I are going through something similar right now. We have a very nice apartment here in Brentwood, California. It's an expensive area, and it's not that big, and it's nice, but it doesn't have like a great view or anything. And we were traveling so much, it was fine for that. But now that we're starting to cut down on our traveling, and actually it was Cindy's idea. She wants, a bigger place. She wants a house instead of an apartment. And my attitude was, well, I'd rather buy a house in Hawaii than buy a house here. But she doesn't want to wait to buy a house in Hawaii. She doesn't want to wait until we're both financially and psychologically ready to make that huge of a move. So she wants to get a house here, and I didn't really want to do that. But at the same time, I want her to be happy, and I do want to have more space. And so I asked Art and Persa about that, and I have a feeling that you're going to get a similar answer. But let me ask them first, and then I'll tell you what they think. Yeah, it's always hard to make changes, and we resist it. Yet at the same time, this is a world of shift and change. You know, this is not heaven. This is a world of shift and change, and it's always going to change. And you can resist it or not. It's very difficult to let go. But you'll find, Crystal, you'll find that if you live apart from your parents, you'll be surprised how much you see them. And it's not like you're saying goodbye. You know, you're still going to see them a lot, and you're still going to, in fact, you may enjoy that quality time with them even more. And at some point, you've got to let go. It's no different. As a parent, at some point, you have to let go of your child. And that's never easy, yet it's a part of the dream. It's a part of what we call life. And it's not that you're separating from them. It's that you're just, taking on a different set of circumstances, and yet you can't lose them, and you'll always be with them. And yes, it's hard, but sometimes you have to kind of like let go and forgive as you're letting go, and then you'll find that you're not letting go as much as you thought you were, because you're still going to see them all the time anyway. And you want that freedom. You know, freedom can be scary at first. You know, it's like when you're 19 years old and you first leave the house. You know, that's scary, but it's also exciting. And this can be exciting for you. This can be a great time in your life, and you can end up having more freedom. And yet, it's kind of like when you get married. Most people, they get married, they leave their parents, but it's not like they don't still see their parents. You know, they still do. So don't feel like you're losing them. And Art and Persa agree with, I don't think they're really into muscle testing, but they agree with the conclusion that you came up with, that is for the best, that is for the best for everybody. So, they acknowledge that it's not easy, that it's difficult, but that is what would be for the best. And they told me the same thing, that what would be for the best for us is when, after the holidays, when January rolls around, that we should be looking for a house here in Southern California. And I told Art in person, okay, if I buy a house here and there's an earthquake, I'm never going to talk to you again. And they said, yes, you will. But hey, you have to have earthquake insurance here. Well, you don't have to, but it's advisable. And that's the nature of this world. I mean, no matter where you are, there's something that could happen that could change everything with no warning. You know, whether it's an earthquake here, or a tsunami in Hawaii, or a hurricane in Florida or Texas, or, it's always something. You know, we kind of point that out. There's no such place. You know, when I was in Maine, they had an ice storm. Power was out in the whole state. This is in January. Power was out in the whole state for 23 days, right? And every telephone pole in the state had to be replaced. And, we didn't have a wood stove. And all the lines were down, and the trees were down, and everything was covered with ice. And we were starting to get hypothermia. And I asked the Holy Spirit, what should we do? And the answer was, well, go to Pat and Bal's house, my in-laws, because they have a wood stove, and they're like Boy Scouts. They'd They have a wood stove, and they could cook food on the wood stove and keep warm, and go back in the yard and get snow and melt the snow on the wood stove, and they had water and they had everything, and it would kind of help us. But I said, it's dangerous. Everything's covered nice. There's these live power lines. We had to go up and down hills. And they even told me which way to go. And it turned out that was the way I had to go anyway, because the other road was blocked. We were taking our lives in our hands, going to their house. And it's really miraculous that we made it without just completely going off the road and being stuck or worse, getting in an accident. But I followed that advice, and we did get there safely. We had our dog in the back and all kinds of, things we were taking with us just in case it was a really long thing. And it did turn out to be a really long thing. But I followed that guidance, and I'm glad that we did. And it wasn't comfortable leaving that house, but I knew that we had to. And the only analogy that I'm making is that it's not comfortable, jumping out there. And at the same time, it can be a very good thing. If you can just get over that initial resistance and that uncomfortableness with making the change, because change is always hard, and the ego, loves complications. When you say the situation is very complicated, the ego loves that. The ego loves for things to be complicated. The truth is simple, but the ego is not. And the ego always leads you to, the Course says the ego always leads you to an impossible situation. It reminds me of the situation in North Korea. It's like an impossible situation. Because if you attack them and try to take out their nuclear capability, they attack the South. And, before you know it, you got hundreds of thousands of people dead. At the same time, you can't let them go ahead and have this nuclear capability, because if you do, then in 5 years, they're going to be taking out, Anchorage, Alaska, or Honolulu, and now you're talking about even more people being dead. So that's a perfect example of the impossible situation that the ego leads us to. It's like no matter which way you go, you can't win. And your situation is not that bad. Your situation is such that everybody can win. And you do have to take that initial step, and it is uncomfortable, but it's what would be for the best, and it will work out. And it will work out in being best for everybody, not just you. And Crystal, that may not be what you want to hear, but that's what they're saying.
Thank you. That's awesome. Last question. Where to take our book club? So you mentioned us getting complete with Disappearance of the Universe. We spoke about reading the book. I looked at the book, and it's 400 pages. I was thinking, maybe we read 40 pages a week, and in 10 weeks we're done with it. I don't know if that's too much, or that's just an idea or a thought. But another idea or concern is the time of our book club call, because it's at 4:00 in the afternoon, which is in Texas, and it's kind of hard for people with jobs to get on, because they don't get off work till 5. A lot of people, we did have it at 6, but at the beginning. But my key member, Angela Irving, which it's really the key members are my parents and this gal, Angela Irving, who's just so committed. She can't do it at 6. Maybe I'll ask her if she could do it later again, but I want some guidance from Martin and Persa, because we want to make it more accessible, which means we might have to change the time or even change the day. And then we want to get through the book and then maybe start reading other books. So that's kind of the process that we're at right now. We're at a crossroads. I don't think listening to an audiobook for like a 7th time is going to fly.
No.
So
I wouldn't listen to it for 7 times.
We already listened to it 6 times, man. So
okay. Well, first of all, it'll be fine to read the physical book, but I wouldn't recommend 40 pages a week. I think 20 would be more
okay.
like. And yeah, it's hard to say. I'm trying to get my my other books made into audio books, but I doubt if that'll happen until early next year, at least. So it won't be in time for that. In the meantime, yeah, you could read the book. I don't know how people feel about Ken Wapnick, but he has a lot of recorded material that you could use. And if you want later, I could ask Art and Chris if they have any specific recommendations for you. And you may not want to do that, but what he's teaching is the same as what Cindy and I and Art and Chris are teaching.
Yes, I want specific recommendations. What do we got to do?
Yeah. And maybe you could listen to a couple of his things. Maybe you could read Disappearance. Maybe you could listen to a couple of his things, and maybe by then I'd have more audio material. Now, there is one thing, and that is that I have you heard the audio recordings that I did with Sounds True?
No.
Okay, I have, because I haven't publicized them that much compared to the books, but I have 3 audio CDs,
Okay.
which are made up of the material that's in both the books and my workshops. And one of them is pretty long. One of them is like over 7 hours long. And it's called Secrets of the Immortal. And if you go to Amazon and type it in, Secrets of the Immortal, or you go to my author's page at Amazon, you'll see that there. Plus there are 2 others. The 2 others are 3 hours long. One is called Fearless Love, and the other one is called The End of Reincarnation. And so that's about right there, over 13 hours worth of material. They're quality recordings. We did it in a recording studio in Colorado. And if you give those a try, and if you listen to those in your club, I think that you'll find that they get very deep. They also accelerate the undoing of the ego.
Can you ask Art and Persa, should we go that route or read The Disappearance of the Universe as a book? Which would be the next step to do next?
Okay. Wait just a minute, because I wasn't clear on that myself, so I should ask them. Huh. Actually, I'm surprised, but they're saying that those audio recordings would be just right.
Really?
Yeah. So there's 3 of them.
Are they available on Audible?
I'm not sure what you mean. They're available on, yeah, I believe they are. They're available both at Amazon and at the Sounds True website, which is just soundstrue.com. I believe they're available on audio, but I'd have to double check that because I'm just, all I ever cared about was I got the CD and listened to the CD. So.
Can you ask Art and Persa, which one should we listen to first out of the 3?
Okay, out of the 3, Secrets of the Immortal would be the one.
Okay.
It costs a little bit more because it's longer, but they think that would be the best one. And then the next one, if you did the 3 in order, the next one would be Fearless Love. And then the 3rd one would be The End of Reincarnation, which is funny because that's the opposite order that they were recorded in. But they're saying that would be the order. That Secrets of the Immortal would be first.
Okay, great. Well, then that's what I'll tell the team on Friday, and
Great.
we'll try and find a time to start that, and then maybe choose a different day or time as well. We'll play around with that. Yeah,
usually 7 o'clock is perfect, but because people do work. But I know that you have a team member there that you really want to have there, so that's a dilemma also. So look for the answer there. And by the way, Jared, before I forget, I want to thank you for that nice review you wrote of Love Has Forgotten No One.
Oh, yes, you're welcome. My pleasure.
It's always helpful if somebody reviews Love Has Forgotten No One.
I'll keep on the troops about getting those reviews done.
That's awesome. And I'm excited, because Cindy has her book out now, and then that's coming out in the fall. So, we got all these cool things happening.
Exactly.
And we're making progress with the TV series too. So.
Oh, that's exciting.
it's a pretty exciting time right now.
Right?
Okay, wait a minute. Love Has Forgotten No One. Is that your book?
That's the third book.
Third book.
The third book. Okay.
Yep.
Gary, when can we get on your calendar again next on a Wednesday? I'm actually thinking in September because we got our company convention for the vitamins in August. That'll be a big chunk of August will be out. But what does a Wednesday in September look like? 6th, 13th, 20th?
I think it will be either the 13th or the 20th. Can I get back to you by email later in the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can keep the same time, 12 o'clock noon, your time?
Yeah, that way I can talk to Cindy, make sure she doesn't have anything on her calendar where we're traveling or going to meet somebody or something. And I'll definitely get back to you later today.
Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, the sooner the better, obviously, because we'll all put that on our calendar and save the date. Does that work 13th or 20th for you and Mom and Dad,
Yes.
Crystal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll talk to her and I'll definitely get back to you today.
Okay, great. And then I sent you an email on vitamins. Did you want information on that stuff?
Sure. I already have my regimen pretty well set.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd be interested if you want to send that to me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just for your own research. I know you research everything, so.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
And, I really enjoy talking to you. And
yeah.
The counseling sessions that I was doing, I ended up doing about 90 of them in the last few months.
90. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But after next week, that's it. I don't have any more scheduled, so I'm going to not do them. I don't know if I'll do them again. We'll see. But it's been a very good experience for me. And actually, you're the only people that I have continued to talk to more than once, because it was only my intention to have one session per person. And you're the only ones that I've done several with, so I must enjoy it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, we totally love it, and we're going to always be asking you about the next meeting. So as long as you're going to have us, we want to be there. So yes, awesome. Sorry, I got a phone call that was calling in. But great, Gary. Well, thanks again, and we do feel very blessed that we've been able to work with you so many times. It's a huge highlight for us, man. I tell you what, and we're excited about it. Yeah. We're going to keep this book club going.
Great. That's great.
So.
Okay. We'll see you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
God bless.